Hey there everyone, it's me, elmoviemaster. Today I want to be talking about guilty pleasures. I think everyone has guilty pleasures to a certain degree, whether it's liking pineapple on your pizza.
You don't put fucking pineapple on a pizza.
Personally, I like anchovies on my pizza.
No anchovies.
Other people like those Frappa Choco Moco, whatever they're called from Starbucks. I never tried them. But anyway, you shouldn't feel guilty about liking a certain thing. But because people use the phrase, we're going to use it for this video. So stick around, I'm going to talk about 15 movies that I personally love. They're not great, but they are guilty pleasures. So stick around. Number 15 is a movie called The Temp. This movie came out in the 90s, and yes, this movie is very cheesy, it's very dated, but I love it. This is basically a clone of your typical Basic Instinct kind of movie. In the 90s, there were movies like Sleeping with the Enemy, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and a slew of others, and The Temp falls into the category of being the lesser known of the kind. When this movie came out, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel trashed the movie. They didn't like it.
Plot so murky and contradictory and confusing, and then the climax is completely inexplicable, raising so many questions, we're still asking them when the movie is over.
Most critics didn't like it. This movie has never gotten a cult status. It's always been considered pretty bad. What makes it bad? The fact that the story is simplistic. Basically, it's about a guy who works for this company that makes cookies. So in comes the temp, a new secretary who is a little overqualified, who does all the tasks really quick. And eventually this temp starts climbing up the corporate ladder, and she doesn't take no for an answer. She starts falling for her boss, and things start to, of course, spiral out of control. The movie's extremely simplistic and very predictable, but I love it. Number 14, Obsessed. This movie came out in 2009, and it's pretty much the same thing as The Temp. This time around, the cast is Idris Elba and Beyonce. They're a happily married couple. They have everything that anyone could want. A beautiful house, he has a great job, everything's going great, until someone comes along who becomes obsessed. It's extremely predictable, it's exactly what you think it is. It's a Fatal Attraction clone. It's along the same lines as Basic Instinct, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, all those movies that came out in the 90s. It's a great movie to watch on a lazy Sunday. Yes, this movie is not going to win any awards, but something about the acting, it feels like a Lifetime movie at times. I have no clue how it came out in theaters back then, but if you watch this for the laughs, you're gonna have a great time. Number 13, The Number 23. That sounds weird saying that the number 13 is the number 23. So this movie stars Jim Carrey, came out in 2007, and this is during a time where people still felt that Jim Carrey needed to do more comedic roles. And I think this movie gets a really bad rap. The story revolves around Jim Carrey, who finds his book called The Number 23. And as he's reading the book, he starts noticing that the character that he's reading, a lot of the stuff that's happening to him has happened to him before. He starts relating a little too much to the character, to the point that certain things start becoming kind of like coincidences. The movie also stars Virginia Madsen, who plays Jim Carrey's wife, who starts telling him, hey, this is all in your head, this is imagination. I've always liked the direction of the movie. I really like whenever he's reading about the character, you're seeing it kind of like a film noir. And when this movie came out, the reviews were really poor. To this day, I think a lot of people still dislike this movie. It doesn't get a lot of love. And sure, it's not amazing, but for me, I genuinely like this movie. I hate having to apologize for saying that I like The Number 23. And I think Jim Carrey gave a great performance in the movie. I truly believed him as a man who's slowly losing his mind. So this one, unlike The Temp and Obsessed, I genuinely like. So yeah, I don't want to apologize for liking this movie, I just do. Number 12, X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Boo this man!
Yes, I know, this movie is not very good. It is really bad. I get it. I know everyone loves Logan, the Wolverine, but God forbid you say that you like X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is considered like the worst of the worst. It's at the same level as Catwoman, or Elektra, or Fantastic. Yes, if you watch this movie after watching some of the other X-Men movies, you will notice that it is really poor. However, I don't find this movie boring at all. Whenever this movie's on TV, I'll watch it from beginning to end. Yeah, the special effects are terrible. Most of the movie doesn't make sense. It contradicts some of the things that happen in the other X-Men movies. But hey, the whole X-Men timeline is all over the place. It makes very little to no sense if you actually watch the movies in chronological order. Number 11 is Jupiter Ascending. I saw this movie in theaters and I thought it was really bad. I was laughing at a lot of the stuff that was happening, and I've since purchased the movie on DVD, and on multiple views, this movie is comedy gold. I appreciate that the Wachowskis were trying to do an original story. This is something that they came up with completely on their own. It's not based on a book, it's not based on a comic book or something that existed before. It's completely original, but it's also completely terrible. I'll admit that. However, I have fun with this movie. It's hard to explain the plot, but it revolves around Mila Kunis, who has a very simple life. She scrubs toilets, and she wishes for a better life. Behold, she's actually considered a queen in another world. What I like about the movie, as terrible as it is, it takes you to a new world. The effects are a little shoddy in certain areas, but again, it's a fantasy. One of the things that I love about movies is escaping reality, and this movie does that. It takes you into a new world with different little characters, and sure, this falls around the same level as a movie like Battlefield Earth, which I also enjoy, but again, because it's comedic. And the same thing happens with Jupiter Ascending. It's a movie that you can laugh at, have a good time, and there are certain scenes in this movie where I'm actually not laughing, I'm actually engaged in the story. I'm engaged in all the silly stuff that's happening, all the people flying and shooting at each other. My eyes are glued to the TV. So yeah, number 11, Jupiter Ascending. Number 10, The Day After Tomorrow. I am a big disaster movie junkie. I love them. It doesn't matter if it's big budget, if it's from the 70s, or it's made by the Asylum. And I think I own most of them, because I'm looking at my little section over here across from me, and I have a big little lineup of disaster movies. This disaster flick is no different than any of the other ones you've seen before. A scientist is warning politicians and everyone about the disaster that's coming towards them, and of course no one listens. And it's funny how we see this in every movie, and in real life, we don't pay attention to the fact that global warming is a thing, and it's gonna happen sooner or later. Sure, some of the special effects are dated, I don't mind that. The good thing about this particular movie is that there's never a boring moment. They used to play this movie a lot on FX, and I would always watch it. I own the Blu-ray, I've owned it on VHS, DVD, and now I own it on Blu-ray. If one day I make the jump to 4K, who knows, if I have the money, I will definitely be getting Day After Tomorrow in 4K. Number 9, Mommy Dearest. So Mommy Dearest is actually based on a true story. It's based on a book, and it relates the story of Joan Crawford, who was an actress very famous in her time, made a lot of movies, and her daughter wrote the book detailing the horrors that she had to live through. This movie now, it's a bit of a hit and miss with people. When this movie came out, they saw this as a comedy. It was not intended to be a comedy, but it has a lot of lines that become synonymous with cult status.
No more hangers!
That's one of many lines in the movie where she just goes berserk. But I genuinely think that this movie is good. It was just misunderstood at the time of its release. A lot of people say that's exaggerated, none of this would really happen in real life, at least not in the way it's shown in the movie. But I disagree. I think it's very realistic. And the performance by Faye Dunaway is so to the T of someone who's abusing someone. I think the script was very well written. I discovered this movie not too long ago, believe it or not. I had it in my collection for a little while, but I didn't watch it until a few years ago. And after watching it, I just don't get why people hate the movie. And those who do, they like it ironically, kind of how I like Jupiter Ascending, or I like Battlefield Earth, kind of in the ironic sense. But with Mommy Dearest, I don't like it in the ironic sense. I never laughed at any of the scenes. I know there's a lot of people who will dress up as Faye Dunaway and do a lot of the lines, and sure, I can understand that that particular line with the wire hangers is funny, but in the context, if you watch that clip alone, it's funny, but if you watch the actual scene and see what's happening to her daughter and the abuse that she's going through, it doesn't come off as funny. It comes off as pretty scary. Number 8, Spider-Man 3. When this movie came out in 2007, it got a lot of hate. This movie, of course, is not perfect. Comparing it to the first one, and especially the second one, you start noticing that this movie just has too many characters. Actually, it's not just that it has too many characters, it has too many plot lines. And that's the biggest problem with the movie. But even still, I find this movie extremely entertaining. I know a lot of people hate the fact that Venom appears in this movie just for a small fraction of the movie. Yeah, I didn't like that either. You gotta keep in mind that Sam Raimi was forced by Avi Arad to include Venom in the movie. Had he not included Venom in the movie, I think this movie would have been praised a lot more. I actually like the whole plot line between Harry and Peter, and the fact that they're fighting with each other and then they become friends again. It's just a case of too many plot lines. Heck, I don't even mind that whole thing of... That scene has never bothered me. I know a lot of people hate that scene, but I've always seen that as Peter Parker, who is really dorky, even if he becomes evil or emo in this movie, that's what he thinks is cool. So that's how dorky he is. If you don't like it, it's fine, I get it. Trust me, there's movies on this particular list where you're gonna say, I'm unsubscribing from elmoviemaster now! That's fine, it's okay. Number 7 is Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yes, and I hate to say this, but I actually enjoy this one even more than the first one.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
This movie is, yes, it's bad. A lot of bad acting, a lot of cheesy lines. Mother, you're alive. Too bad you will die. It's really bad. I know. However, this movie is like a Power Rangers episode on steroids. It's so over the top. So much stuff is happening. The effects are terrible. They're unfinished, but it's so entertaining. I'm sorry. I can watch this movie over and over again. And I actually always watch Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 right after it. Yes, the first one is a lot better. It's more structured, it makes more sense, the effects are better, there's more practical stuff. Yes, however, Annihilation is just so much more entertaining for all the wrong reasons. And once I get to the end of Mortal Kombat, the famous scene where you have Raiden saying, "I don't think so," and then you do the dun, 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 dun. Once the credits roll, I'm already picking up the Blu-ray of Mortal Kombat Annihilation to watch it, because it's just one of those movies that I get glued. I have to watch it. I cannot watch Mortal Kombat 1 without watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It's just not possible. Number 6. Yes, this is going to sound ridiculous to a lot of people because I mentioned Signs being one of my least favorite movies from M. Night Shyamalan, but I really like The Happening. Just like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, this movie's bad, but the acting, oh.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep.
What? No.
The lines.
You know, hot dogs get a bad rap. They got a cool shape, they got protein. You like hot dogs, right?
Ooh, it's the perfect ingredients for a trashy movie.
Mother of God, what kind of terrorists are these?
And of course, you sprinkle a little bit there of M. Night Shyamalan's directing, and you have The Happening. It shocks me to believe that this movie exists. That someone saw the shots and said, "That's great, we're gonna go with that. It's good!" Everything in this movie is a disaster. Starting with the script. The villain in this movie is not aliens, is not dead people, is not superheroes and supervillains. It's air. People are running away from air because it's gonna make them kill themselves. The message of the movie, I get what he was trying to do. When you watch the movie and look at the message, he's trying to make an environmental movie. He's trying to say that we're mistreating the earth. I understand that. Problem is, it comes off comedic. I cannot take a lot of the scenes seriously. And I can't buy Mark Wahlberg as a teacher, I'm sorry. I just see him as the typical action guy. I just can't buy him as a science teacher. A lot of the scenes are super zoomed in for some reason, and it just comes off very comedic. It's funny because you look at old interviews when this movie was being made, he talks about the movie as if it's like an Alfred Hitchcock tribute. But then later when the movie came out and got a lot of bad reviews, he was like, "Yeah, no, I was kidding. You know, this was supposed to be a B movie from the start," and that's a lie. It's just that M. Night Shyamalan, I have a love-hate thing for the guy. You never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. So for that reason, with this movie, I like it ironically, and I watch it at least once a year. It makes me laugh. It's super entertaining. It was not what it was intended to be. Whatever the intention was, I'm glad this movie exists. If you thought you got mad at me for liking Mortal Kombat Annihilation or liking The Happening, wait until you hear my number 5. Number 5 is The Predator.
No, I'm out.
Yes, I like this movie, and I don't like it ironically. I actually genuinely enjoy this movie. I saw this when it came out in theaters, and I loved the hell out of it. Yes, this movie went through a lot of reshoots, and there's a different plot line, there are scenes that were supposed to take place in the day. Regardless of all that, the movie is entertaining. When you're going to a Predator movie, you're not going for the complex storyline. You're just going for the kills. Don't kid yourself. You're watching these movies for the violence, for the gore, for the action. And this movie delivers that. I actually did not mind the characters that you see in the movie. A lot of people hated some of the banter between these characters. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Yeah, you can say this movie feels like it could have come out in 2006, 2007. This is one of the later movies that was released by Fox. But again, when it comes to Predator movies, as long as there's gore, action, I'm just looking to be entertained. And this movie does it, so there you go.
No, you're wrong. I'm unsubscribing now, Movie Master. Now!
Number 4, if you got mad at me for liking The Predator, wait until you hear this one. Godzilla 1998.
No! No! No!
Yeah. I am not going to make apologies for this one. I like it. This movie's entertaining. It's silly, it's stupid. I remember seeing this when I was a kid. I was 10 years old when this movie came out, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I rewatched it recently. Now as an adult. I hadn't seen it in a little while. This movie's still entertaining. Yes, if you compare this to the other Godzilla movies that exist, those are miles better. Those are generally way better. The effects are terrible. The acting's pretty bad. It's very cheesy. Why do you love it? I like bad movies. What can I tell you? I like cheesy stuff. If it entertains me, it gets a thumbs up. And there's nothing terribly offensive about the movie. If you overthink the plot, why certain things don't make sense, then yes, I agree with you. The movie's bad. Not gonna apologize for liking it. I'm gonna continue watching it. Number 3, The Master of Disguise.
I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a
I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a master of disguise. I like this movie. It's really stupid. Yes, I know. Am I not too turtly enough to be in the turtle club? I can recite every line from this movie. Super easy to make me laugh. I like dumb humor. Fart jokes, poop jokes. If done right, to a certain extent, I enjoy them. And Master of Disguise hits that inner childhood in me. And to this day, I can watch it over and over again. On a Sunday when I don't want to think about anything, I can pop this movie in and it will make me laugh. Number 2 is Freddy Got Fingered. So when this movie came out, a lot of people didn't like it. They trashed this movie. Critics, especially Roger Ebert at one point said, there will be a time where people will like this movie, but there will never be a time where people will find it funny. And I have to disagree with Ebert. Not only do I think people like this movie now more, but people find it more funny. This is perfect for a movie night. To show this movie to someone who hasn't seen it, just watching the reaction at the absurdities of the movie is priceless. It's gold. I love it. The story is very simple. It revolves around the character of Gord.
Gordy!
Who's 28 years old. He's living at home.
He's 28 years old and he can eat a chicken sandwich. Very impressive.
He wants to fulfill the dreams of an animator.
I'm X-Ray Cat. I've got superpowers. I can see through wooden doors with my X-ray vision.
So he moves out of home and starts working at a cheese factory in hopes of finding someone who can finance his drawings.
Barge into a restaurant, dressed like a fucking English Bobby, and expect someone to give you a TV show? I don't know, yeah?
A lot of absurd things happen. This is a movie that you can't describe.
Backwards man, the backwards man, the backwards man, the backwards man. I can walk backwards fast as you can. I can walk backwards fast as you can. I'm the backwards man, the backwards man. I can walk backwards fast as you can.
Backwards man, the backwards man. I can walk as fast as you can. I say Geneva, you hear Helsinki? Look, it's an underwater treasure. That's not a treasure, that's soap on a rope. Shh, I'm pretending it's a treasure. What the hell am I scuba gear, you imbecile? Oh no, it went into that underwater cave. If you let me loose, I'm gonna recite the entire movie. Betty, would you like some sausages? They're jewels, Betty. They're jewels. You're gonna do it $1 million, Gord. I wonder. I'm not gonna apologize for liking Freddy Got Fingered. I genuinely love this movie. The fact that they gave so much money to Tom Green and he literally trolled the audience with this movie was ahead of its time. It did not count on the meme culture. If this movie came out today, everyone will love it. Everyone would say it's the most amazing movie. Just too ahead of its time. Number 1, I know that everyone is gonna get mad at me, and that is Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh no, now I'm unsubscribing. Screw this guy. Screw Movie Master.
Yeah, I know. I get it. Hear me out.
No, we're not gonna hear you out. We're gonna hate you for liking this movie. How dare you like Ghostbusters 2016? And you call yourself a Movie Master? Unsubscribe again to unsubscribe again.
Why do I like this movie that no one seems to like? First of all, I'm not the biggest Ghostbusters fan. I've seen all of them. I even saw the original as a kid, but it's never been a franchise that I'm so enamored with. It's just one of those movies that I grew up watching, I've liked, but I've never been a huge fan of it. People hate the movie for it being too female-centric, that it was force-fed upon us. I didn't see that. I just saw an entertaining movie. Sure, some of the jokes don't land, some of the effects aren't very good, and if you compare this movie to the original movies, yeah, it's miles inferior, but I don't think it's terrible. The whole story actually makes sense. It pays tribute to the first movie. And yes, of course, Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I've seen, it's miles better. It's way better. It's actually a very emotional movie. But if you watch Ghostbusters 3 as a comedy, as what it's intended to be, it's fine. I don't see the hate for it. And every time that I say I like Ghostbusters 2016, or as it's also known as Ghostbusters Answer the Call, I get this look. Or I get comments like this. And you, sir, consider yourself a movie critic? Actually, no one does say that. But I do get a lot of weird looks. I've only met one person so far that likes the Ghostbusters movie that came out in 2016. Just one. Everyone else hates the movie. They're so glad it got rebooted. And again, the most recent one, Ghostbusters Afterlife, was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's very easy to make me laugh. I like silly humor. So that's one reason why this movie touch my funny senses. So I'm not going to apologize for liking this movie, nor any of the movies that I mentioned on this list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These were 15 movies. A lot of movies that I like as guilty pleasures. I hate using that word, but it is something that a lot of people use. I get it. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm there every now and then. Find the link on the description down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe. Bye.
I'm the backwards man, the backwards man, I'm the backwards man, the backwards man.